Testing, testing. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. We're testing something a little bit different here. All right. We're testing. We're gonna test the jank setup. All right. Jank jank mic. All right. Can you guys hear this? Because clearly the good mic is too difficult to use here. The good mic is too difficult for this laptop to handle. So we're gonna use the jank mic. Two wrongs make a right. All right, let me let me catch up. Ryan Orley, welcome to the Yonko. Welcome to the Yonko. If Ryan Orley is listening to this, I appreciate you joining. Ryan Orley, you get access to the Morgecast that comes out this Friday. Okay. Now, Ender Anami says both streams went mute around the 10 to 11 minute mark. Here's hoping it was just a mic issue and not a software issue. Let's hope it's a mic issue. The 10 to 11 minute mark. So that's what we got. We got to watch out for that. We got a timer here. Law is getting me back for slander. Okay. Sean Easton says you can get really, thank you, man. You can get really good deals on back to school laptops. Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you, Sean. I might have to get a new laptop, man. PC World. Oh my God. Some good deals. Yes. Yes. This is what I want to see. Excellent. The thing is, the laptop I had before was like a $3,000, $2,700 laptop. Probably at this point, I got it 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago. So probably at this point, it's cheaper. But I kind of want to get that quality again. But maybe I spring for something a little cheaper this time. I don't know. Uh, Ideally, that laptop gets fixed. You know, I don't want to have to, going with my kid analogy, I don't have to adopt a new kid. I'd rather just have the old kid, the golden child, back. Nicholas Lou says this is more just Luffy versus Crocodile. That's actually hilarious because right now I do feel like, the final time Luffy fought Crocodile, he was all like bloody and messed up, and clearly, that was the most ratchet round of their battle. Crocodile didn't even fight with sand powers that time for the most part. He's like, fuck it, we'll do it. Just poison hooks and stuff. That's what this feels like. Okay, let me catch up on the supers I missed real quick. Uh, let's hope this one works, man. Let's hope this one works. Did I miss any? Did I miss any other memberships? I apologize. I don't mean to miss member shoutouts or anything like that. It's just today's not the day. Okay, let's see. Sean Easton says can't send on mobile, so sending on PC. Message 1 out of 2. You know how Lahaina has been hit hard by fires? Well, tourism dried up due to that. So one of the best ways to help out is to do tourism there. Prices are hella low: $400 for round trip airfare from Denver, $120 to $250 for hotel rooms, and you'd have great accommodations. So if anybody wants to go to Lahaina, where is that? I don't. Apologies for being uneducated. Lahaina is in. Oh, it's in Hawaii. Wait, so you can go to Hawaii for pretty cheap right now. That's good to know. So anybody that wants to help out Hawaii, please do so. Take a vacation there. Jay, thanks for the 5. Would be interesting if Logia Awakening, surely Oda will remember, is more than just a strength boost, but something the Strats can't figure out right away. That would be interesting because right now, I think straight power-wise, Luffy should be above Kizaru, right? So if Logia Awakening is more of a tricky problem that he has to deal with, I think that'd be great. Rayon Arley says, Ayo dog, I'm a new Yonko. Sure, I did shout you out at the very beginning of this new one. If you want to scroll back to the beginning. But any of y'all Morge casuals got a Morge plushie. Only me and Morge know that cramped Chinese office self-employed grind. Keep on trucking, Playboy. Morge the goat. Thanks, Ryan Early. I appreciate you. It's very kind of you to say. I know a lot of people have plushies because it's just plushies were ordered. Sometimes people send me photos of their plushies. Okay. Audio's still working and everything. Sorry, I just thought I saw something. Did I watch Matt Owen's stream with Hassan? No. No, I did not get to see that. I thought it was crazy that it was happening because I'm just like Hassan's one of the biggest streamers, obviously in the I think on Twitch period, right? Like top few. So I don't know. It's just a weird. It's just weird to think that I don't know. That's good publicity, right? Good publicity for the One Piece live action, I suppose. Not that it needs it anymore, but it's kind of cool. Don't go quiet. I'm just checking. I'm just checking. We still got it. El Hassan. Hassan is a One Piece fan. No opinions on it in general, like on Hassan in general, but just I'm aware that he and Moist Critical are two of the more prominent streamers that are newer One Piece fans, I suppose, right? Wait, Turner says more. Will we get a new poster first, or will the Wana video come out first? A new poster first. There's that guy that I'm trying to talk to on Twitter who did all of Luffy's gear forms, but I'm not able to get a hold of him just yet. Got to follow up on that. I'm treading the 11-minute mark. Fodder for hire, thanks for the 10. Mighty Morgan Man, if the Seraphim inherit aspects of the original's personality, do you think that S. Flamingo could become a problem for the world government, especially the Celestial Dragons? I definitely think so, because that was a significant plot point. Like, it's not just a significant plot point being written in for the Seraphims. That's what we got at the very beginning of Egghead Island, right? Chapter 1 or 2 of Egghead Island. It was established that it's very, very difficult for you just can't eliminate the original aspects of the personalities of the things that they create, right? That's a huge part of Egghead Island, and it's likely going to be one of the more important themes. Joyboy56, thanks for the 2. How do I become a member? Oh, that is a great question. That is a favorite question. I don't know. There's a button that says join, right? I think that's how everyone does it. There's a button that says join underneath the video. I think that's it. I think join. That's try hitting join. Appreciate it. Remix King, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. See, Remix King knows how. Morge, what are your thoughts on the latest? It's crazy that you've been a Yonko tier member for 7 months. You've been talking about Pokemon Adventures for 7 fucking months. Oh my god, time flies. I feel like it was just 2 months ago that you started talking about that stuff. Not 2 months, but it definitely doesn't feel like 7. It's kind of crazy. What are my thoughts on the latest chapter for Pokemon Adventures Scarlet and Violet? I think that I think that the creativity of the author knows no bounds, because it's like, what do you do once you're done with, the iconic adventures of red and green and blue and stuff, right? But the author was like, oh, I can do Scarlet and Violet. And that's just the sort of creative thinking that you don't see anywhere else. The ability to just look at the full color spectrum, and how do you see the color spectrum so differently? Just be able to pick out colors that nobody else has like written stories about before. So that's my opinions on Scarlet and Violet. I think it's truly impressive. Also, shout out to Vvolt, an amazing creator for the series. Hey, second to me, right? I'm the number one Pokemon Pokemon Adventures creator as far as I know. Starbright, thanks for the 5. Why is Zoro versus Kizaru a thing now? For years, we were all in agreement that Sanji versus Kizaru was like a for sure matchup. I think, I think it's because the thing is that Sanji versus Kizaru was also not really based on anything either. Like there's matchups that are clearly built up, right? Like Zoro versus Blackbeard. We can all tell, like Zoro. Sorry, not. Did I say Zoro versus Blackbeard? Luffy versus Blackbeard. Luffy versus Blackbeard. That was about to sound pretty ridiculous. So Luffy versus Blackbeard, we can all tell is really set up because the way that they're both being written in the story, they're dynamic with each other, etc. Right? Sanji versus Kizaru was something that most of us assumed just because it seemed like a cool matchup on paper. There was never anything in the story that hinted at Sanji versus Kizaru. It just seemed cool to us, right? It seemed cool. It was like, well, Sanji's fast, Kizaru's really fast. Sanji only fights with kicks, Kizaru's whole thing is kicks, right? It just felt like a cool matchup. Even the color schemes, yellow, yellow. And people like the idea that the monster trio would get to fight the 3 admirals, right? So for a long time, that just seemed like, on paper, a really, really, really cool idea, I think that's why people liked the Sanji versus Kizaru matchup. Zoro versus Kizaru picked up more steam recently because a few things, right? Zoro usually fights the second strongest, right? It seems like Saturn is potentially the boss of the Egghead Island arc, in which case Zoro versus Kizaru seemed to make more sense. There just would never be a world where it's like Luffy versus Saturn, Sanji versus Kizaru, and then Zoro versus Lucci, because at the end of the day, Zoro's just always going to get a stronger opponent than Sanji. So I think that's why Zoro versus Kizaru picked up steam. Not to mention a few other small factors, such as Kizaru and Zoro, they do actually go kind of far back in that Kizaru was going to kill Zoro back on Savoti and was even taunting Zoro for being weaker than he expected. Kizaru also has a bit of a trend of fighting against first mates. We saw Kizaru versus Rayleigh, we saw Kizaru versus Marco, we saw even Kizaru versus Ben Beckman for a brief moment. So a lot of people think that there's a bit of foreshadowing potentially there for a Zoro-Kizaru rematch of sorts. But those are the primary reasons. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, Luffy versus Kizaru, that just makes the most sense, right? Kizaru is the strongest character attacking them right now. Luffy's Luffy. It is ultimately going to be most satisfying to see Luffy go up against Kizaru after what Kizaru did to the crew so long ago, and really what Kizaru did to Luffy at Marineford. Kizaru, it's still fucking funny. Kizaru literally kicked Luffy back to the start of the battlefield 3 times over the course of Marineford. Kizaru was a giant dick to Luffy. Like, obviously, Akainu traumatized Luffy the most in Marineford, but in terms of who trolled and fucked with Luffy the most over the course of Marineford, it was Kizaru. Nerve V-Maker, thanks for the 5. Think Lucci will disrespect Luffy's title again and Zoro will put him in his place? I like maybe you could say like a scene like that. Like Zoro's had moments like that before where, you know, he's talking shit to Pika like, "Oh, you think you're good enough to go after Straw Hat Luffy? You can't even handle me." Stuff like that. I think that a lot of people are going to walk back how they rated Lucci before this, right? For the record, I'm consistent because you can go back and look at my top 30 rankings that I did months ago, and I had Lucci above Katakuri, you know? So I had Lucci above Law and Kid, rightfully. So to me, Zoro's fighting a pretty worthy opponent for him right now. It's a lot of you guys, in my opinion, who are just like, oh, Lucci, he got like low diffed by Luffy. It's like, yeah, Luffy's a fucking Yonko. You know, the fact to me, I was always like, the fact that Lucci lasted 2 chapters is impressive. Like, you got to keep in mind, if this was anybody, if it was Katakuri, it would be over in like 4 pages, in my opinion, right? So I've always, if it was like Law or Kid, it'd be over in like a chapter, in my opinion. So to me, I'm always just like, yeah, Luffy versus Lucci. Obviously, Lucci got low diffed, but Luffy was just going toe to toe with fucking Kaido, right? The guy that was considered the strongest character in the world, 1 arc back. Luffy was splitting the sky with him, right? Of course, Lucci getting low diff by Luffy is not a bad look. I think if Zoro beats Lucci mid diff, if we gotta get into the diffs, right? If Luffy beats Zoro mid diff here, I think that's not a bad look at all. Yeah, I think that people went overboard disrespecting Lucci because it's just like you're not looking at you. People are not looking at Luffy as though he's essentially the equivalent of Kaido or Shanks or Whitebeard, which is, in my opinion, the way that you should look at him. If you look at him like that, then what Lucci did is impressive. If Lucci got to fight anybody else, I think it'd be impressive. You know, Lucci took out Sentamaru like that. You know. So I, in my opinion, I think I rated Lucci correctly way back when people were just shitting on him without looking at the context. And now I think people are going to walk shit back a little bit and be like, you know what? Lucci's stronger than we thought. Lucci was actually, you know, it's always been really impressive what Lucci did, etc. Because now Zoro's fighting him. Jay, thanks for the 5. Hope Kizaru's awakening, surely Oda remembers, is more than a boost. Oh no, we figured this. We talked about this. Kelvin, thanks for the 2. In your opinion, what are the top 3 Logia's devil fruits? Oh shit. Is the mic still working? Mic's still working. Okay. In your opinion, what are the top 3 Logia's devil fruits? I think I always go with just straight up fuck. It's tricky because I feel like story-wise, wait, we did cover Jay's comment already, right? I'm pretty sure I discussed it already. Unless Jay didn't catch it at the end of last stream. Last stream isn't the one that died right before this one. Okay, I assume that you didn't get to hear my answer to it. So Jay, Kazara's awakening being more than a boost, but something the Strahds can't figure out right away. He's light, but possibility. What I said to that was basically, I think it would be cool because if we see Logia awakening here, and I do think Oda has it in mind because he mentioned it earlier in Egghead Island. So to me, that's also already a bit of teasing that it's something that's going to be explored more this arc, right? I think it would be really cool if Logia awakening is something more, tricky, or as people say in anime terms, more hacks, right? Because I think in straight power, Luffy should be above Kizaru at this point, right? I mean, Kizaru's already reeling from one simple kick from base Luffy. So I think in straight power, Luffy should be above Kizaru. So I feel like for Kizaru to be a tricky matchup for Luffy, I would agree that Logia Awakening and some interesting application of Logia Awakening, like being a uh, more tricky ability to deal with, I think would be cool to see. And then going back to the other question of what are the top 3 Logias, in my opinion, I think that I think the way we're supposed to look at it is technically Blackbeard's is supposed to be the best Logia, at least according to Blackbeard. It definitely doesn't feel like the best Logia to me. It has the very convenient ability of turning off other devil fruits, which is a huge deal. To me, that's more matchup dependent, but then it's missing so many of the other cool advantages that other Logias have, like just, Akainu, any single punch that you throw out or like launch, it's like that's close to death right there. You know what I mean? Like Akainu can take a single swing and like take off half of Whitebeard's face. NL, Kizaru, they can zip around at ridiculous speeds, things like that. Blackbeard's is it's the most powerful in the sense that it beats every other devil fruit. But I think in terms of combat, I feel like if Blackbeard's up against I feel like if it's like a really good hockey user going up against if a good hockey user is going up against a Logia user, I think the Logia user would be better off if they had something like a Kainu's fruit or NL's fruit or Kizaru's fruit. So let's say Blackbeard is technically number 1. If we set Blackbeard's fruit aside just because its properties are so different, like he can't even change his form, like the other Logias can manipulate their form to avoid attacks and stuff, like Katakuri did. Obviously, Katakuri's not a Logia, but other Logias can do that. So if we're taking that aside, I would say top 3, not in any particular order. I would say NL, Kizaru, and Akainu, and you can make a good case for any of those. I personally think that it's NL's. Um, NL's is just stupid. it's NL's feels like it's just a Dragon Ball Z character that was dropped into One Piece, right? And for a long time, like now that we're really far in the story, now we understand that hockey trumps anything that NL could do. But for the longest time, it was just like if you're just looking at Devil Fruit abilities, NL seems like almost an anomaly in the One Piece world, and that it's like that's a fucking DBZ ability. Why can he do that? That's fucking nuts. Wizpunk, thanks for the 5. Vegapunk will die and Lilith will go with them to Elbaf in his place. That's an interesting idea. There's been multiple small hints that Lilith will join. Also, connection to Lily. I don't know about connection to Lily. I feel like that might be a stretch. Because then it's like, okay, is that a body of, like, Alabasta Princess? Is that connected or anything like that? I'm just going to set that part aside. But Vegapunk dying, Lilith going to Elbaf, I think that'd be really cool because I think Lilith dying would feel a little harsh. And Vegapunk is that classic, like, old man dude that, dies towards the end of a story to pass on some knowledge, the sage type character. So I could see that happening, and I think that might be one of the reasons that Oda split up all the Vegapunks in the way that he did. Another thing that's possible might be that the Stella body maybe has too much information, like too much true history knowledge and stuff. So maybe having to kill him off to prevent a shortcut in information. I don't know. But that is an interesting idea that the Stella ultimately dies. I mean, Oda is much more willing to kill characters nowadays, so I could see that possibility. Hito the Far, thanks for the 5. Making a short film about picking a tattoo. What should I put on my body forever? I trust you. Oh, so there's a book. Who read this book when you guys were a kid? What? Wait, let's get the stream lights to 100. I'm so distracted by the shitty stream quality that I forgot to talk about the the stream likes. Let's get the stream likes to 100. Um, there's a book that I read when I was a kid. I think it's a fairly popular book. It's called Wayside Stories from Wayside School. Wayside Stories from Wayside School or something. It's a great children's book, phenomenal children's book. Um, in it, there's like a kid that was allowed to get a tattoo. It was either the book or one of its sequels because it had many sequels, and I read all of them. So there was a kid that wanted a tattoo, and like it's an entire chapter about like him talking to the other kids at school, like I'm gonna get a tattoo. What should I get? And they're all giving him ideas of like, oh, get like a skull with fire, get like this animal or something. I don't remember all the things they're throwing out, but they're throwing out all these options. They're like, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then he comes back the next day and they're like, okay, what tattoo did you get? He's like, oh, I got a potato. They're like, what? He's like, yeah, I got a tattoo of a potato. They're like, what the fuck? Why'd you get a tattoo of a potato? He's just like, well, because I felt like it. And then everyone's really fucking pissed because he didn't take any of their advice, but he got a potato tattoo. So long story short, get that. Also, which of the 5 admirals do you think have advanced conquerors haki? I personally think only Akainu. At this point. Maybe Kizaru surprises us, but I personally think it's only Akainu. Joyboy56, welcome to the Yonko. Thank you for joining. If you're interested, the main appeal of being a Yonko is you get access to the Morgecast, my exclusive weekly podcast that comes out every Friday. This Friday will be particularly good because the One Piece live action is coming out, so I'll have a lot of fresh thoughts that'll go in there. The Final Storm, thanks for the 2. Do you think Sanji fighting Lafitte is his matchup? This was something that was debated heavily with our Ranking the Blackbeard Pirates stream that we did a little bit ago. And I could really see it either way. Either Sanji fights Lafitte, or Sanji fights Avala Pizarro. I think those are the only 2 options that really made sense. Some people were still saying Jesus Burgess. Maybe. He hasn't been that impressive lately. I feel like out of the Blackbeard, it's 2 ways to look at it, right? Out of the Blackbeard, we're taking Aokiji out of the picture because I just don't think that's Aokiji's going to be a bad guy by the end of the story. Either, like, you can look at it as basically the most impressive Blackbeard pirate that we've seen besides Shiryu, who's done the most and has the most impressive ability, is Avala Pizarro. So you could say, well, that guy's going to be Sanji's opponent. Or you could say the Blackbeard pirate that seems to be the most mysterious and has the most sort of like potential to be secretly really strong, like a hidden ace of the crew, is Lafitte. So it's 2 ways you can look at it, right? Either you go with the guy that's done the most so far, or the guy that's done the least, but therefore has the most potential to secretly be really strong. I'm personally split on it, but I think Laffy would be really cool. That's all I'll say. I think Pizarro would be a cool matchup because he would be different, but Lafitte could be cool in just that, like, Lafitte could be hypothetically a stronger opponent overall, because we have seen Pizarro get fucked up a little bit. Luis Vasquez, thanks for the 5. Morjipu, who do you think Sanji is the Katarina Devon? The way he was acting in this chapter was really sus. Sanji did use a gun, which is kind of funny, but he's used guns in the past, but only once, which was he pointed a gun at Nico Robin, and this was so early in the story that it's practically an inconsistency, because not just the fact that Sanji pulled out a gun, but the fact that he threatened a woman in general. So I feel like Oda hadn't yet fully thought out how hardcore he's going to be with certain Sanji rules, like never using his hands in combat and never hurting a woman. Right? Because even for Sanji to just threaten a woman is, at this point, we would view that as out of character. So for him to be threatening a woman, him using a gun, those are things we just never see from Sanji again in the story. Him using a gun here seems a little suspicious, but it's just like, well, how would Katarina Devon have even caught Sanji? That's a really bad look for Sanji if he was defeated by Lafitte and Katarina Devon. Unless Lafitte's really strong, but still, it's a really bad look for Sanji, I think, if he was just caught and defeated and he's now being impersonated in the story. I think that's really bad. So let's hope that that's not the case. Jolly D. Joestar, love the hair morph. Luffy will hide if Kizaru. The hair is temporary. The hair, I don't like having my hair come over the forehead and everything. I think it looks dumb. I like my hair going back, but took a small nap before this, so hair's flat and everything like that. But we'll think about it. But I still think it looks dumb. Um, appreciate it though. Luffy will hide if Kizaru. I don't think it'll be easy for Luffy versus Kizaru. Like it won't be Luffy versus Lucci, but I don't think it'll be like as hard as Luffy versus Kaido. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle. Mr. Crescent, thanks for the 10. Do you think we'll ever go back and see what happened in EH, or will Oda just skip it? In EH. In EH? What's an EH? Egghead. Oh, see what happened in Egghead, like at night in Egghead. Also, I think the chain of command is kind of stupid, especially with Saturn being there to override it anyway. Yeah, but Saturn's got to get there. Saturn's like one of the most prized celestial dragons in existence. He's not just going to go running around fighting a Yonko crew just like that, I assume, right? Until he's really ready to get up and if it's absolutely necessary or something, right? I think the chain of command thing is just necessary right now to make things work. And I think I think Saturn is ultimately going to be the one to take control because that just makes sense. Like, why would you have it set up that the final say is with the Elder Stars if you're not actually going to have that take place in the story? I mean, maybe it doesn't, but I don't know. I think the chain of command is fine. Like, I think that it makes sense in terms of making the plot move along and explaining why a certain character needs to do this, take out Sentomaru before doing this, before doing that, etc. And I think that Oda's got some sort of train in mind in terms of like this will happen, then this will happen, and then this will happen, and the Seraphim will swing back and forth till finally this person is in control. We don't know who this person is yet, but I wouldn't be surprised again if it's Saturn. Do I think we'll go back in time to see the stuff? I think we have to see a little bit of it. Like, not necessarily we're going to see the Seraphim fights or anything like that at this point, but I do think something as simple as we need to know what happened with Bonnie, right? Like, we need to understand what happened with her flashback. I think that's crucial. I also would like to know, like, how was York captured and Vegapunk found? But maybe that's not that important at the end of the day. But it was set up as like a very difficult situation that they'd found themselves in, and then next morning it's all solved. But I don't think it's that important at the end of the day. Like, I'm not itching to find that out. I think it'd be nice, but the Bonnie stuff is important because that's character related, in my opinion. Insatiable Hunger, thanks for the 5. Lucci said, now that Kizaru is here, we can eliminate all of you. Lucci fought Gear 5 before he knows Luffy's strength, yet he believes Kizaru and him can wipe them out. Yeah, but that's like all bad guys. That's like all bad guys. You know what I mean? Like, the boss is here now. You're fucked, Luffy. like, fucking, like Luffy fucking destroyed Moji in Orange Town, and then Moji's like, well, Buggy will fuck him up. I don't know if Moji said those words necessarily, but like, you know, they have to basically just assume that their boss is strong enough to take out Luffy, right? That just happens all the time. However, I will say that in this case, Lucci is particularly stubborn about not acknowledging Luffy's strength, and Lucci probably isn't aware of how much Luffy was holding back necessarily, because Luffy didn't use Advanced Conqueror's Haki as far as we could tell. Right, so because Luffy wasn't really using everything he's got, Lucci's not really aware of like how much Luffy was toying with him. I think at the end of the day. Samput Takesh Revolprati, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. I always like saying your name. Hey Morji. Oh, no, never mind. That's an exclamation point. Hey Morge, long time no see. Are you excited for One Piece live action today? I'm very, very excited, man. For me, it's gonna be tomorrow because I'm gonna sleep before it comes out. It comes out pretty late at night for me. It's been long, but what are your thoughts on Enies Lobby creation mystery being solved? So I'll get to that in a second. For the One Piece live action, I can honestly say that ever since the trailer came, not the teaser, ever since the actual trailer came out, I've been excited. And then ever since that, literally every single new piece of promotional material that has come out has raised my expectations and hopes even further, to the point that now I am genuinely, like, it's an instant click. Anytime I see a new One Piece live action thing come up on my feed or on YouTube or whatever, I instantly click it because I'm fully hooked. I'm just genuinely excited to see every new piece of promotional material for it. So I cannot wait till tomorrow. I'm very, very excited for it. What are my thoughts on Enies Lobby creation mystery being solved? I think that's coming really soon. And you know, one of the things that people were talking about was, you know, Logia Awakenings and stuff. It's been long theorized that Logia awakenings might permanently affect the surrounding environment. Therefore, maybe Enies Lobby it became a permanent nighttime, a permanent daytime island because Pika, like the light user from like 800 years ago did awakening or something like that there. Um, if that's a possibility, I think that would be really, really cool to see in this arc if some of those things come together. But I really do think we're going to get some answers to that very soon. Because, like, whatever weapon Imu used, the answer to what it was is with Vegapunk. Like, Vegapunk's the one who provided the Mother Flame to activate that weapon. So the answers are all here. So we're going to learn a lot this arc. Let's get the stream lights up to 200 real quick. King G, thanks for the 5. Big Mom and Kaido come back. Big Mom turns Lava into a homie, saving herself and Kaido like she did in Rocks, and she ends up in Elbaf while Zoro kills Kaido. It'd be so funny if ZKK actually comes true, just like 2 arcs later. Because it's just like, damn, they were just right. That's crazy. I don't want Kaido and Big Mom to come back though at this point. I just don't want them to come back. I'm done with them. You know? Like, do we need Big Mom in yet another arc? Ooh, thanks for the 5. If I join King of the Pirates or above tier, will you host an alien-themed episode? No. I'm sorry. But you can submit some alien-related question as a topic. I'm still accepting topics for Pirate King tier and stuff. You can submit an alien-related topic for submission, and I could talk about it a little bit in the podcast. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 2. Aokiji versus Garp, Kizaru versus Luffy, Akainu versus Dragon. That's a very interesting possibility. That's a crazy little. Oh my god, that'd be such a cool little pattern. All of the D's are fighting admirals. Akainu versus Dragon just seems like too much to ask for right now, but it'd be really cool if it happened. Ray Chia, thanks for the 2. Morge, you should watch Nero versus Frankie 4 Kids edition. Why? What's it like in 4 Kids? I didn't know 4 Kids even got to Enies Lobby. I thought it was canceled a lot earlier. Luz Vasquez, thanks. How would 4 Kids even adapt Enies Lobby? Enies Lobby is so fucking dark. How would they even do it? Do they just send all of Ohara to the basement? Do they lock everyone at Ohara up in a basement? Can someone tell me how did 4 Kids adapt Enies Lobby? It makes no sense to me. Luz Vasquez, thanks for the 2. Katarina Devon can literally turn into a hot woman. Yeah, she can. Yeah. Dank X Cookies, thanks for the 10. I can't find the member join button, but I'll still ask a question. Oh shit, it's underneath it should be underneath the video to the right. I can't find the member join button, but I'll still ask a question. How often do you think Luffy will use Gear 5th? I think we'll see it again versus Kizaru, right? Because he would use it against Lucci, but not Kizaru. Unless maybe Luffy's a little drained of it, so I think it would be cool to see Luffy fighting just in base form versus Kizaru, and this time flexing his Conqueror's Haki. I think that would be a really fun little fight to see, and would be a serious flex for Luffy as a Yonko. Because, I mean, Luffy with just advanced Conqueror's Haki is still really fucking strong. You know what I mean? Like, still was splitting the sky with Kaido and everything like that. It's just that Gear 5th and the Gomu Gomu no Mi makes him just this unpredictable wild card with so many variety abilities thrown in the mix, you know? Kelvin, thanks for the 5. Love the way that Oda depicts the admirals. Powerful opponents that have their own beliefs, motives, and backstories. From Fujitora to Aokiji and now Kizaru. I cannot tell you how impressed, like, not impressed, but, like, how pleasantly surprised I am to see that Kizaru, of all characters, is suddenly getting so much more characterization and attention to detail in terms of, you know, what he once was. Who he actually is, compared to how I once viewed him. Because how I once viewed him was just, you know, he's the trolly admiral that ultimately serves a purpose, right? But it's crazy that he's even acknowledging himself, like, yeah, I'm just the guy that serves a purpose, whatever the Marines want of me. But we see that he has some conflicting personal attachments and personal relationships that are that he's having to go up against. And we haven't really gotten his full thoughts on all of that yet, but we're getting the flashbacks and everything for him. I think it's phenomenal stuff with Kizaru, what's going on right now. Blue, thanks for being... Fuck. Scrolled straight past it. Blue, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 11 months. What percentage of your subscribers do you think you could beat in a fight? Probably like 80, 90%, right? Most of you guys are just anime weebs, right? The final storm, thanks for the 10. I think Luffy and Kizaru won't lose. I think Luffy and Kizaru won't lose. What does that mean? Luffy and Kizaru won't lose. Their losses will be an overall. Oh, you think neither of them lose. Their losses will be an overall narrative loss on both sides. More for the Marines instead of a 1v1 loss. My Sanji versus Luffy comment was for Egghead, not end of story. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I could see Sanji. That would be cool, actually. That'd be really cool because we're like, who's Sanji gonna fight? If it's Luffy, that'd be awesome. But I think Luffy should fight somebody else so that we can kind of scale him a little better to Sanji because it's just like, how do we know if beating Luffy is impressive right now? You know what I mean? I see what you're saying though. Like there won't be a like. It's not like if Kizaru loses here, it would just be Kizaru's out for the rest of the story or something like that. It does feel too early for Kizaru to just be out. GDN, thanks for the 5. Kuzan was secretly Mike Tyson. Kizaru was secretly the Shield hero. Never saw either fighting like that. Oh, I see what you're saying. Pretty soon, yeah, Aokiji just fighting by throwing fists is hilarious. Pretty soon, Akainu will be a marksman. Yeah, like, shouldn't Akainu be the one who's, like, kind of going blow for blow? That's funny. Ultimate Simon says, I have 20 bodyguards with me. Could you beat me? Why do you have Why are you watching the stream with 20 bodyguards? Why do you I just imagine I'm just imagining you right now sitting in front of the computer with like 20 bodyguards surrounding you just in case someone online challenge you to a fight. Ender Ayanami says, I'm still not over the fact that nobody thought to put the Sea Stone Cups back on Lucci and Kaku or put them in the bubbles as a preemptive measure after they fought the Seraphim LMAO. Yeah, here's the thing. I thought that was I thought that was like a cool power move at the time because I was just like, the Strats are so confident that they're above them that they don't need to do that, right? I honestly thought that was pretty cool when they did that, right? It was just like a flex. But it feels like less of a flex if it turns out that they are a big like Lucci in particular is a big problem and you definitely should have put the Sea Stone cuffs on. You know what I mean? It's like kind of trying to do a too cool to care sort of a thing. And then it's like, oh well, fuck, we fucked up. All right, this is a problem now. Not to say that Zoro's gonna like lose to Lucci or anything, but clearly it's a big ass inconvenience if Zoro's being taken out of the picture temporarily because he has to deal with Lucci. So I don't know. Oh, someone just asked, is the mic broken? It's a complicated situation. I'm currently streaming out of a shitty laptop because my good laptop is out for repairs and potentially ruined forever. So, um, this hopefully won't be the norm much longer, but it is I just have to use it for right now. It's just the way it is. Um, at least today's stream. Hopefully, I've got my laptop back by Monday, but we don't know. Dan KX Cookies says, does going Gear 5 drain his life, or what's the theory? I don't think it drains his life. I mean, I don't think it drains his life. I think that going Gear 5th can really suck out his energy in the moment, but I don't think it's like draining his lifespan necessarily. Unless that's brought up later and then that becomes a whole thing where like Chopper has to save him, which would be cool. Ultimate Simon says, time for Morge to build a new PC. Everything and nothing. Thanks for the 5. What if Luffy's Gear 5th is only OP against Zoans because he is the Zoan of Zoan? You think kind of like Blackbeard's Logia against other Logia? Sword and One Piece don't cut when they make contact. Mostly slashes cut. Don't really understand that second sentence. But I think Luffy's Gear 5th should be good against anything, personally. You know? Jordan Taylor says Zoro will take out Lucci, then Sanji will take out Lucci, then Jinbei will take out Lucci. It'd be funny if like all the characters get to take out Lucci. You know what would be cool? What if we got Luffy versus Kizaru? And so, like, first we got Luffy versus Lucci, right? What if we get. First we got Luffy versus Lucci. Now it's Luffy versus Kizaru, Zoro versus Lucci. And then what if after that, but it still feels like it's not the final battle quite yet, right? Or maybe it kind of does. I don't know. Saturn's still waiting, right? So we got Luffy versus Lucci. It's round 1. Then round 2 is Luffy versus Kizaru, Zoro versus Lucci. What if round 3 is Luffy versus Saturn, Zoro versus Kizaru, Sanji versus Lucci? That way everyone gets a fight? I still feel like Sanji should get something, and I think it'd be cool if all 3 of the Monster Trio got a shot at Lucci and you kind of get to see how it stacks. But then Lucci would just be used as the ultimate. Just the funniest measuring stick ever. Oh, shit. Give me a second. Yeah, I may have to call stream somewhat soon. Yeah, what's the deal with Saturn? Do we still think... Is Saturn... I'm just going to do a poll real quick. Is Saturn the final boss of the arc? Okay. Is Saturn Luffy's final opponent of the arc? Or is it Kizaru? Like, do we think that Luffy is currently... Did he just start his final fight of the arc? Sanji versus Laffy is a really cool idea. The only problem is that it doesn't tell us anything, because what we kind of want to see right now is how the Straw Hats stack. You know what I mean? How does Luffy stack against an Admiral? How does Zoro stack against Lucci, who just fought against Luffy, you know? If Laffy comes into play, we have no reference point as to how strong Laffy is. So it's kind of like, even if Sanji beats Laffy or looks really good against Laffy, we have absolutely no clue. Is Laffy supposed to be the second strongest on... Like, is Laffy supposed to be right after Shiryu? Is Laffy... Like, where does... Laffy hasn't done anything yet. You know what I mean? So I feel like Laffy would have to do something else and then fight Sanji, and then that would be a cool matchup. Because otherwise, it's kind of just like... In that case, Sanji's the one being used to kind of hype up Laffy. GDN says, I think Saturn will have a Kuma-esque role. I don't think the Strats are getting fucked up here. Like, all the signs to me right now seem like this feels like a Straw Hats finally getting one back on the Marines and everything after all the shit that they've gone through. Okay, so people are leaning towards Kizaru being the final opponent, right? Like, we think that the final matchups have started. I think that's very possible, because we all feel like Egghead's at its climax, essentially. But it's just like, in that case, what role does Saturn... Is Saturn just a pure... He's not combat at all? Curious. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Anime Fanatics says, chances Cross-Guild show up and take down Kizaru. Oh, you're just a Mihawk fan. Saying Cross-Guild shows up and takes down Kizaru. You're just a Mihawk fan. Just say chances Mihawk shows up and takes down Kizaru. I think pretty low, personally. I think if Mihawk's fighting some other admiral, it's not going to be... I don't think it's Kizaru, necessarily. Actually, I don't know. It'd be a cool twist. We've already got the Blackbeard parts there. We got the Strahd parts there. We don't know what Cross-Guild's up to. It could be cool. But just like Mihawk showing up to take out Kizaru, that seems so... Like, such a... It seems like too much of a Mihawk fan's wet dream to take it seriously. Disciple, thanks for the 2. Do you think Elbaf will start after chapter 1100? I don't know. I don't think Egghead... The tricky thing with Egghead is that there's just so many things that are not yet tied together, because we still don't know the Katarina Devon Laffy situation. We still don't... The big thing is that there's the Bonnie Kuma flashback that we don't know yet. Maybe that's revealed to us in an arc down the line, but it seems really significant and pertinent to this arc. Could Egghead Island end in the next 9 chapters? I mean, it's just like... There's so many vice admirals. There's Luffy. I think I would say that if it's just the fights and the action and getting off the island that needs to happen, they could do it in 10 chapters, I think, in 9 chapters. But because we've also got to consider just the Lafitte and Devon thread that's been introduced, maybe they don't do that much. Maybe it's just like a haha, we're here reveal, and then they steal something and then they get out. But because there's that, because it's the Bonnie flashback that seems like the biggest missing piece to me. You know, the Bonnie flashback seems like a big question mark because it's just like, where does that fit in? Why have we not already gotten it? Do you guys think we get the Bonnie flashback soon or what? Like, do you guys think we get the Bonnie flashback, the Kuma flashback this arc? GDN, thanks for the 5. I think Saturn will pop off at the very end with the congratulations, you beat an admiral. Here's the power of the world government moment. Oh, I see what you're kind of saying, like that sort of a Kuma moment. I just think that would be really well, no, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. That would definitely be pretty cool to see. But it's also just like even if that's really cool to see, no, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. I just don't think that the arc should end with defeat for the Straw Hats, and I talked about that a lot in the video I put out about like what it means to be Yonko crew. Just because the Straw Hats, they have to go meet Shanks next, right, and Elbaf and all of that, and it's just like they should be riding high off of a victory, not a major defeat, because that was the whole point of Shanks and Luffy's reunion, and that's what was talked about in Marineford. That's what's been talked about in the past. So I think the Straw Hats successfully escaping, but I don't think like getting their like asses beat by Saturn and then like sailing off to Elbaf in shambles. Kid Smitty 94 says Luffy is doing his typical thing of holding the strongest opponent in one spot while the crew does the objective. Yeah, I love that aspect. I love that thing about One Piece. Very Enies Lobby vibes, right? I mean, it's always the same thing, but Enies Lobby is always the one that I go back to where it was the most, I will do this, and this is the only thing I do, and there's like 10 other objectives that have to be done. We need the keys. We need to escape route. We need to free Robin. We need to get to the bridge. We need to do all of these other things, right? And the crew's just checking them all off one by one. And Luffy the entire time through is just fighting Lucci. It like Enies Lobby was so cool to me for that. It's just like the same thing with Luffy versus Katakuri and Whole Cake Island and everything. I really like those scenarios quite a bit. BFJ97, thanks for the 5. Lucci's completely delusional if Lucci's absolutely delusional if he really thinks he's a match for Zoro. I mean, Lucci thought he's a match. You realize that Lucci thought he was a match for Luffy, who is stronger than Zoro, right? So I'm surprised you think that this is delusional, right? We already saw him think that he could take Luffy. This is a step down. If anything, it's more reasonable that Lucci thinks he could take Zoro than what he thought he could do before. Alex O, thanks. I think that Luffy is going to defeat Kizaru, but Seraphim Kuma will save him as the real Kuma saved the Straw Hats from Kizaru. So you think he'd do the reverse? Why would he do the reverse, though? Because Seraphim Kuma should carry the same personality as real Kuma, in which case Seraphim Kuma should not like the world government either. Dan KX Cookie says, what happened to your car? I didn't get the ending to that part. Yeah, I haven't told you guys like the full... My week so far has been so messy because I still do not have my car back. It has been a month and a half since the car has been recovered and found. I still don't fucking have the car back. It is insane. I can't believe it's been a month and a half. But yeah, it's been a month and a half. And I still don't have the car back. Because the Geico agent in charge of it, the adjuster, is doing such a terrible job. The main problem is that he drags his feet for... I don't want to bore you guys with too much, but he drags his feet so much to getting around to doing the most basic stuff, and he'll give the wrong estimate. Like, he'll give an estimate or an assessment, but then it doesn't include something. So then the shop has to call him. He takes another week to go back there, check it again. He doesn't respond to the shop at all. He only responds if I call him and leave a bunch of voicemails and stuff like that. He'll go back, check it again, do something wrong. Same process over and over. Geico had to pay for a certain part to be sent. This is what happened this week. Geico had to pay for a certain part. The car is almost done. The last thing that needs to be done is basically there's a thing that regulator or something like that opens the back window, opens and closes the back window or whatever. We just need that. Geico paid for a used part or something like that to be sent for it to be fixed. and when the car shop got the part, it was a broken part. Now the adjuster's telling me like, oh, we didn't do that. Like the shop was the one that ordered the part. We don't order the parts. The shop's telling me no, Geico's the one that ordered this part. I'm just like, I don't care who ordered it. Just somebody please fix it. One of you guys fix it. I don't care whose fault it is. I just want it fixed. So I don't know, but I'm still in a rental. I had to swap rentals for basically for reasons or whatever. But yeah, my week has basically been taken up by like rental situation, like talking on the phone with Geico, etc., swapping my rental, then having to take my laptop cross town to get it fixed, get it broken in actuality. So it's currently being fixed after being fixed. And yeah, it's very messy right now. That's why the stream is being streamed on this shitty stream quality. But it is the way it is. Anyway, moving on. GDN says Saturn also didn't chase Sabo out of the room, which makes me think his abilities are a secret. He won't pop off until the Marines are down. I view that more as plot convenience because it's just like, you know, Blackbeard didn't chase Bep. Like, there's a lot of times in One Piece where characters just. So you guys can hear all the outside audio, I bet, because we can't use the good mic because of the way the stream is. But anyway, there's a lot of times in One Piece where characters just have to escape. So characters that should be able to catch them or keep up just don't keep up the chase. So I wouldn't read too much into that personally. Kino the Far, thanks to the 5. How many pages are your video scripts? You make it seem effortless. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. That's very kind. Great hair, by the way. I've been saying this. I don't like this. This hair thing is not intentional. I was sleeping a little bit, so my hair is flatter. So I'm doing a flatter look, but I normally prefer it back. Anyway, the scripts are normally, it's anywhere from like, in terms of like Arial 11 font, right? That font style, it's anywhere from like absolute minimum would be 3 pages, but norm is more like somewhere between, like norm is closer to 5 pages basically. So it's somewhere between 3 to 5 pages. 3 is on the shorter end, 5 is on the longer end. Basically that's it. Do you think Luffy will reunite with Buggy or Shanks first? Do I think? Oh, this is all single spaced, by the way. This is not like a college essay where you have like a bunch of spaces and stuff. So it's all single spaced. So usually close to 5 pages, single spaced. Do you think Luffy will reunite with Buggy or Shanks first? Will Luffy reunite with Buggy or Shanks first? Will Luffy reunite? I think Shanks. I think Shanks first, right? Enrio, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 4 months. Accidentally took acid last year. Was fighting demons. I could barely type. Your Marine Ford was on the video is on the homepage. Help me immerse and get through. Being a fan since. That is, I like that story so much. That's hilarious. So you're on acid. What the? You found me while you're on acid, and then you just like while you were tripping, you just watched an hour-long video on Marine Ford. That must have been cool because I'm thinking back to that video, and it's my own video, so I'm not trying to. What? I'm just saying, like that would be a cool video, I think, to watch if you're just like if you're on a trip and you're just watching someone just talk about One Piece and seeing all the visuals and panels and anime clips and stuff like that and reliving that experience. That's funny. Glad you enjoyed it. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. Thoughts on each faction potentially getting a Vegapunk end of Egghead. Strides get Lilith, World Government gets York, Dragon gets Stella, maybe Blackbeard, Crossbill, and Caribou get one too. Dude, that is such a sick idea. I'd never thought about that before. That is a really, really sick idea. I'd never thought about that before. That could be an important purpose for why there's so many Vegapunk bodies. Honestly, I thought that it was more likely just a case of Oda going overboard with just writing in more characters and quirky designs and stuff like that, and having more characters to play off each other or whatever, and more disposable bodies for deaths. But that is such a cool idea. I like that a lot, Final Storm. Kino the Far says, one day we'll both have cars again, Morky Moo. I haven't heard that name before. Yeah, man. Having a car is... I mean, I have the rental, and I've had different rentals so far. but it's not the same. You want your car back, right? Even though the rental I have right now is better than my normal car. You just want your car back. And plus, I'm a little touchy when I have the rentals because I'm just like a little bit. You have to be extra careful when driving. Obviously, you should always be careful when driving, but when you have a rental, you got to be a little extra careful with driving. Just you can't you can't fuck with anything because it's just like the last thing I want right now. The rental is covered by Geico as well. But the last thing in the world I want right now is any sort of scratch or ding on the rental. And then I've got to go through the fucking process with Geico again just for another car. I would be mad. They would be mad. It would just be a whole pain in the ass. Sampath Sakesh Revolprati, thanks a lot. Hey BTW, from your FromSoft journey, did you try Armored Core 6 yet? I'm stuck on the first major boss level. The customizations are really awesome. I do have some quick questions for you guys about Armored Core 6 on that topic. So I have not started Armored Core 6. It is honestly very low on my list of FromSoft games that I want to play. I would probably want to play Elden Ring first. I really want to play Bloodborne first, but there's just no way to do it. Here's the thing. I don't even have the fucking option to do that right now because my laptop, my good laptop that can run shit like that, is not here. It is. It is. If you're watching earlier in the stream, it is currently basically mostly broken and hopefully being repaired, but very possibly broken. I don't know. We'll see. But I just don't have access to that right now. Probably for my own good. Better to be productive than be playing some games. So that's good. I mean, I haven't played a video game since I finished Dark Souls 3. No, I've tried God of War. So I started with through God of War, but I dropped that like 2 months ago. So I haven't really picked it back up in a bit. But anyway, God of War is what I was working on. Doesn't really matter. Probably for the best that I don't have access to a gaming laptop at the moment. Helps me be better focused. I've heard so many good things about Armored Core 6. I'm really curious about what makes that game so good because I guess I'm curious about what FromSoft's approach is to a game of that style. Like, does it feel very similar to a Souls-like game? I've heard the difficulty is similar, but does it really feel like Souls-like in such a different genre? Because that'd be really cool to see. It's just not the genre is not my cup of tea, so it's not something I'm itching to play versus like an Elden Ring or or a Bloodborne, which is what I really want. But you know, just curious to hear what you guys' thoughts on it are. And by the way, last stream I was talking about like, oh no, I'm upset that Armored Core 6 is successful because that means that FromSoft isn't going to produce like now it's going to get into a bunch of variety games and shooters and stuff like that, and it's not going to put out the old school Sword and Shield games that I like. But I'm obviously joking, right? Like I'm sure that FromSoft with the extra money, it's still going to be able to produce that stuff. I would prefer if they exclusively produced sword using games and stuff like that. But it is what it is. It's a successful company. It's always good to see. Ray GS says, anybody else remember Mad Monkey Rouge? That is a great fucking point. Does anyone? Okay, who has the best guess right now for what happened to Rouge? Does anybody have a good guess? Anyone have a good guess? Yeah, Bloodborne doesn't work on PC. That's the biggest problem. Wait, there were some updates. Somebody kind of made it work on PC a little bit. No, never mind. I saw some news about Bloodborne. Someone somehow making it work on PC. But it seems like it was a lie. Still on the cloud, died off screen. Uruj will be at LDAP. That's a possibility. He's going to be with NL. Uruj join Cross Guild. That'd be cool. No, the live action is not out. It won't be out for 3 hours, it seems like. Ricky Servants is more. You're going to review the live action One Piece series? Yes, I am. I'm going to try and get out a review Friday or Saturday. I think it'll have to be a 2-parter just because it's 8 episodes, right? That's a long ass. There's going to be a lot that happens over the course of it. So I might just do episodes 1 through 4, then 5 through 8. I don't know exactly. All right, guys. I am probably going to call the stream right about now. It is a little late for me. This whole stream schedule is very different from usual. But yeah, let's see. Let me just see if there's any last quick questions to do. Beat Gamer 99 says do the first 4 episodes on a Friday and the rest on Saturday. I think most likely the first batch I'll drop on Friday, and then the next batch I'll drop a few days later. Ooh says go look at the moon, Mo. Yeah, I should do that before I miss the opportunity. I'm gonna check that out. All right, guys. I'm gonna call the stream here. It is good to know. Worst case scenario, the next stream will be with this shitty audio again. At least the visuals are the same as normal. Oh shit. Madfish, thanks very much. What's up, Morge? Listening to your streams has gotten me through many long commutes. Thank you very much for the 20, man. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm a rare NL stan. Likelihood that he reappears and has a role in the series. This is what I always say when people bring up NL. The moon seems to be becoming more and more important in One Piece, one. But two, Enel himself, his final words in the series as he traveled off to Fairyfirth were, I will be back someday. So it's something to think about, you know? That was the last thing that he left us with, that he will be back someday. So, you know, the possibility is definitely there. Let me just get these last few supers. Sampath Sakesh Ravopathy, thank you. Armored Core 6 is different to Souls formula. I figured. Missions are easy, but bosses are really hard. Bosses being hard is typical, but yeah, missions are usually not easy either. Pacing is very fast, could hurt your neck. That fast. Customizations are great. I'm going to be honest, so I'm the type of person that can get overwhelmed with a giant plethora of customization options, and I understand that's the direction that video games are going with, like more and more options and options. But one of the things that I enjoyed the most about Sekiro was just how clean it felt to me. Like that's kind of the experience that I personally enjoy quite a bit, which is just I'm given a certain setup and then I work with the skill set that you have to hone with that setup, if that makes sense. But at the same time, that being said, I did that was one of the reasons I was hesitant about getting into Dark Souls and getting into Dark Souls 3. But having gotten into both of those games, I did slowly grow to appreciate creating a build, you know? I did find that fun. I did use Reddit to look up advice, like should I be leveling up more decks or should I be doing this and stuff. But I understand, like, the further you go, like, I'm sure Armored Core 6 is way more customization options than something like that. So, yeah, I don't know. One thing I will say is that God of War, I really dislike all the customization options you get because it just, for whatever reason in that game, it feels kind of tiring to me to have to keep, like, figuring out, like, okay, with experience, I want to get this new skill or this new skill. And, like, I don't know. I personally don't enjoy it in that game, but I'm also not very far into that game, so don't take that criticism with any sort of weight. It's just my feeling at the moment playing that game. I also haven't played God of War in a bit. Les, thanks for the 5. He was trying to stop Kaido. He was trying to stop Kaido from aborting life, so maybe he saved Kid somehow, or at least said a prayer while saying bye. You think Yuruj saved Kid? That's hilarious. Why would Yuruj save Kid? Maybe Yuruj saved Kid. That'd be funny. Like, maybe he did. Honestly, maybe he did. Maybe Yuruj swooped in and saved Kid. We don't know where he's at. Michael McCoy says God of War customization sucks ass. I was like, am I alone in that? I didn't really see a bunch of God of War opinions or anything like that, but I don't know. I just didn't enjoy, like, I wasn't enjoying having to continually look up, like, okay, I have these points. To look into the tree of, like, what new skill I want to invest in and stuff like that. And then there's the fucking kid with the arrow, and I'm like, do I invest in his arrows? Am I supposed to be doing that? I have to level up my characters. Like, I would have to sit down and think a little bit and, like, actually break down why and think about my experience. Why did I enjoy that in Dark Souls 3, but I'm not enjoying that in God of War? What's the big difference here? Off the top, if I had to guess, this is not like a thought out analysis, I guess, but if I had to say my gut feeling off the top, I think part of it is that I don't like a continually, like it feels like the move set I keep on having to expand, and I kind of am the type of person that wants to just learn a certain move set and basically be able to work with that, I guess. Whereas here, I just have to keep adding new things, and it's kind of hard to tell what the best thing to invest is in. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's like a bad reasoning, but that's just my feeling off the top of my head. And I think I'm probably not the best example either because um, I think just maybe some people really like having like 50 different skills that you can learn and master, but I'm just not that type of person. Anyway, um, I think I'm gonna call the stream right about here. Yeah, like Sekiro had a skill tree, but it felt just tight enough that I was very rarely like trying to figure out what's the ideal skill to get. And I felt like you could almost have pretty much no skills really. Like you almost even if you didn't invest in a single skill, the core combat still works pretty much the same. It's like attacking, deflecting are the two main things, and a bit of jumping and dodging. Um, and it's just the extra skills just add to everything, but they're really not necessary, not huge game changers. Whereas I feel like with God of War, the extra skills are really important. All right, guys. Uh, Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the two restarts. Hopefully my laptop's good by next Monday, but if not, you will probably have to deal with this audio for at least one more stream. But I promise I'll get laptop stuff sorted out shortly. But it's just the way it is, unfortunately, right now. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, even if it's a little muddy this time. But I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.